update today. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we are just under 150 days to the convention. 150 days, if you can believe it. That's just over 4 months. And things are starting to heat up. We had a great HOC meeting today. A lot of things that we're getting updated on. A few things that we can share with you, which we're going to do tonight. But I think what you can expect over the course of the next 4 months is you're going to get regular updates from us on new and exciting things in every one of these club champion meetings, because as the plans come together, we're going to be able to announce elements that we've been teasing about for a while, and tonight we're going to share a couple of those with you. So the agenda for this evening, it looks long, but it's probably going to go quicker than it looks. So we're going to talk a little bit about convention goals and what we wanted to do today. I'll talk about that in a minute. And that's going to be part of the promotions update. We're going to give you a brief accommodations update and remind you to get signed up for the Mount Royal accommodations that have been arranged. Rick is here today. Rick's going to give us a volunteer update. Thanks for the slide deck, Rick. You've heard from Pat on host hospitality, so we'll give her another opportunity to answer any questions you might have. Have a very brief update on signature events today, but there'll be many more updates on signature events next month. And then we like having the open forum with everybody on this call. So we've saved some time for the open forum. Then of course, we'll always give you the websites that you need to remind your members to register for the convention. So I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about convention goals. We haven't spent any time sharing with our club champions what we're hoping this convention does for District 5360, particularly, and touch a little bit on Rotary International, and we probably have a good sense of what those goals are, but we're going to walk through them a little bit. Now, I think I saw Craig on this call. Is he here?
Yeah, I am.
Craig, you want to walk us through these slides? You do such a good job of it.
Sure. So
okay.
Basically, like I was telling Darcy, we had a meeting with Tourism Calgary the other day. And if we go back to the original bid book that was presented back in 2017, I have been meaning to count how many times the word legacy shows up in that document, because that's really what we were looking for right from day one. And the legacy has really shifted and it's changed in that we're back in the day, we were mostly talking about raising some money for the community, and our goal was upwards of $1 million that we hope to leave in the community. We were hoping to get growth as far as Rotary membership, awareness for the clubs and for the membership, providing assets to the clubs throughout the district, for stay in school program and those types of things. I think that'll come up here in a bit. But what we've also noticed is that as we've moved forward and as Calgary has transitioned from a consumer trade show business into the world-class convention business, we have a real opportunity here to create legacy as far as helping the city succeed. When I was talking to Joel Cowley, the president of the Stampede, or the CEO of the Stampede, I told him, we have to fill this convention hall for 4 or 5 days. You guys need to fill it after that. So how can we help you to do that? And one of the ways that we can help the Stampede, help the city, is by knocking this thing out of the ballpark. And that comes down to making sure that we have an amazing event, that our guests just have an amazing time from the time they land in the city to the time they leave. So what we know is that due to the fact that this is one of the biggest conventions in the world, and due to the fact that Calgary is opening up this new BMO Center, the eyes of the world, the convention world, are going to be looking at us. So they're going to be seeing how Calgary performs, how the Stampede performs, how BMO performs, you know, and what the city, what the city's welcoming and how the city embraces it. So here is a real opportunity for us to shine, and you know that actually adds to some of the bigger scoped goals and visions that we have. So as we were talking specifically about Rotary, we had put in an original goal to increase membership by 20% within the district. And I think that a way to do that is we would encourage all clubs to sit back and say, hey, how can we, as a club, promote the convention to our community, to our members, to our friends and family who are thinking, you know, that maybe you're aware of Rotary or maybe not, but just raising that awareness. And that's not just in Calgary, that's in Medicine Hat, and that's in Olds, and that's all throughout the district. We do know that Rotary International is going to be coming in and starting a promotions in Calgary between April and June, right up to the event. We know that our clubs, or sorry, our district's communication committee and under Governor Christina have been doing an amazing job in building up the Rotary brand, and you know, hopefully the way that we need to look at this is not just building the brand up until June 26th. It's a matter of that should be our launch, you know, building the awareness up to there, and then from there we have an opportunity to further grow Rotary. Next slide. We talked a little bit about the leaving the convention legacy. You know, whether we get to $1 million or not, if you take a look at most conventions, their goal is to break even at best or lose as little amount of money as they possibly can. And you know, if we're going in there ambitious, saying, look, we want to be in a position to really do something special, you know, that in itself changes your mindset as you're going forward. One of the things that we did that most host organizing committees don't do is we are taking on the signature events, for an example, because we knew that if they were trying to organize it out of Evanston, we would end up with a cocktail reception at Studio Bell. And that is not Calgary. That is not District 5360. We need to think outside the box. We need to get excited. We need to do amazing things. But it also, by putting on these spectacular events, gives us an opportunity to raise money for the HOC legacy. And so that's one thing that's really important to us. We have amazing youth programs through Rotary, you know, you know, RILA and Ripen and the Youth Exchange and all of those types of things. Is there a way that we could bring those into the community? And as I mentioned on our call with Tourism Calgary yesterday, we've already, you know, been in contact with the Stampede because they have youth programs that talk about Western heritage. And is there a way that we can tie all of that in? We talked about in the original bid book, talked about doing, you know, is there an opportunity to do a district-wide state and school program? You know, maybe not. Like, we want to just get these conversations going. Can we use these legacy funds to help some of the smaller clubs or the smaller communities to bring some of these programs to their community? Next. Yeah, I mean, when Calgary hosts an event, be it the 88 Olympics or the Rotary International Convention in '96, anywhere that you go in the world and you start talking about Winter Olympics, Calgary comes to mind. Anywhere that we go in the Rotary world, as soon as you say you're from Calgary, well, I was at your convention in '96. It was the best in the world, you know, best one ever. One of the reasons for that is because of the volunteerism and the culture in Calgary and in Southern Alberta, Western hospitality. We knew putting together the bid that we weren't going to be winning this based on the number of hotel rooms and convention facilities that we had, because we were really punching above our weight class on that. But you know, let's get out there and let's do some, you know, take that legacy and take that big time thinking and bring that into this event, and not just the HOC, the club should be thinking this way. How can we really do something special here? Next. One of the other things is a lot of the way that the conventions go from year to year. It's kind of a every HOC or host organizing committee, we start from square one and we're all reinventing the wheels. And one of the things that was important to us right from the get-go was saying, how can we take down and keep track of what it is that we do? What is successful? What does that look like? And while our plan may not work in Honolulu or Taipei or other cities, you know, some of the things that we do that are very successful, some of the community engagement, an example being we were in Houston in, what was that, 2022? And right across the street from the convention center, there were a whole bunch of restaurants, and nobody even bothered to tell them that the convention was in town, so they were all closed on the weekends. You know, and people are walking around trying to find a place to eat. It was crazy. And, you know, just by putting some of these thoughts down and you know, encouraging future HOCs to be working with the business community to you know, just to make sure that everybody feels welcome, everybody feels aware that the hotels, the Uber drivers, the, you know, the restaurants, you know that the convention's in town. It makes our guests feel more welcome, but also, you know, gives them an opportunity to you know, just make it much more enjoyable. So that's what we're doing. Another thing is we have built a website for the HOC, not just a website, but it actually sells our tickets for our signature events and does our accounting and this back end. And that's a gift that we're going to put forward to all of the future HOCs. Next. Yeah, so I'll let you step in any time here, but you know, just one of the goals that Christina set last year was that we want to have 1,000 attendees from within our district. You know, that we had 100% of the clubs in Canada represented by at least one member, and you know, we want to have the best attended convention in Canada. So if you look at the numbers there, Calgary's right up, you know, in 1996, we were right up there. And, you know, there's an opportunity to do that again. So I think I've already worn out my welcome, and I've maybe gone on a little bit more than I had hoped, but hopefully that's some good information for you.
Yeah, you did a great job. Thanks, Craig. Thanks for sharing that. And you know what? I know that we're going to do this later on once the convention is over, but we got to thank you and Mark for all of the work that you've put into this to get us to this point. I mean, you're 7.5 years into it. Some of us are 7 months into it. So, you know, it's clear to see the passion that you guys bring to this convention. And this is going to be the best attended convention in Canada. And for everybody on the call, we have the stats of all of the conventions in Rotary history. The last Calgary convention was either 11th or 14th over 114 years. And so it's not impossible for us to have the best attended in-person convention. We just need to get Rotarians out from all across the world to do it. So so those are the goals. I wanted to give you a quick update on where we're at with the goals. So as of earlier this week, here's what the numbers look like. So registered Rotarians from 5360, we're at 27% of our goal. We're at 27% of members in 5360 are attending the conference as registered and paid attendees as of this Monday. With respect to Christina's goal, we're at 45% of that goal. So we have 450 registered delegates from our district. But here's the thing we're really excited about. we have 100% participation from the clubs in the district. Every club is sending at least one representative to the convention at the end of June. So, you know, you do the math. If every club just sends one more person, that will get us to, well, that'll get us to 10 more people. We need every club to send us 10 more people. My math isn't very good. But that's quite the accomplishment that all of our clubs are represented. And then we're kind of tracking Zone 28 just to see how we stack up against the registrations from Zone 28. And our district right now represents 21% of the registrations from the zone. So there's some work for us to do to recruit people from our clubs to come to the convention. You've heard us say this in the past many times. This is a once in a Rotary generation opportunity for Rotarians to come and experience our Rotary convention. And you've also heard us say in the past that, you know, you're a member of your club when you join. You become a Rotarian when you go to your first convention, because it really is a overwhelmingly positive experience for folks. So I wanted to give you a bit of an update on promotions. Craig mentioned that we spent a good chunk of yesterday actually with Calgary Tourism. Tourism Calgary has been an amazing partner and continues to be an amazing partner. And they've been working with Craig and Mark right from day one to get the bid together. So we hunkered down to kind of figure out, what do the last 6 months of planning a convention like this look like? And where we landed is there's really 3 channels or buckets of communication that we're going to be focused on. We are still going to continue to drive registrations. So we're going to continue coming out and talking to you about getting your members registered for the convention. But we're also going to be continuing our efforts globally, particularly around North America, to try and drive additional registrations. We do want to get to that 25 and 30,000 person mark. The second bucket that we're going to be working on is for registrants, and it's going to be kind of a get ready theme. So what we're thinking about at this stage is creating some social media channels that registered attendees can subscribe to. And we're going to start to push out information like, here's what the signature events look like. Here's how you register for the signature events. Let's talk a little bit about transit and how you're going to get around Calgary. Let's talk about some of the great ideas that Tourism Calgary has in terms of shopping and taking advantage of discounts that they're building with different businesses in the community. So it's kind of the get ready theme. And then, as Craig mentioned, Rotary International will be doing some work around, hey, Calgary, we're going to be in your city and we want you to learn more about Rotary. So this is part of the legacy. How do we build the brand of Rotary in District 5360, and how do we strengthen the brand of Rotary in Calgary? And how do we introduce the city and the region to Rotary? And so there's a lot of great ideas coming out of that. And Rotary International is going to be an important partner in actually buying media to drive the people in action theme throughout the city over the, let's say, 60 days leading up to the convention. So that gives you a bit of a sense of why we're doing all of this, the motivation to bring 30,000 people to Calgary at the end of June. What's in it for the convention? What's in it for Rotary? What's in it for the city? There's a lot of upside here. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop into an accommodations update really quickly. You've heard us talk in the last couple of months about the district accommodation that's been put together at Mount Royal University. There's 350 units available. It's a 30-minute trip by public transit to the convention campus at Stampede Park. But we've designated Mount Royal University as the getaway or the place to stay for 5360 and 5370, and almost building our own little residence of Rotary members from our districts to give us an opportunity to get to know each other better, hang out, have a pop or two in the evening when we get back, and just enjoy each other's company. So if you haven't registered or haven't booked a room at Mount Royal, we really encourage you to do this. The link on here, you'll get a copy of the slide deck after, takes you right to Mount Royal's residential services. You can log in there, you can book the room. And I mean, the rooms, they're dorm rooms, but they're great dorm rooms. And so, you know, I was telling the HOC today, these dorms are better than the Airbnb I stayed in Singapore last year. So I've got my room booked here. My club is bringing up some Belizeans as part of our Literacy Alive program. We're helping bring them to the Rotary Convention. we're all staying at Mount Royal because it's great accommodation at a very affordable price. We're also working with SAIT and the U of C to see if we can expand the options. Once we get more information on that, we'll be sure to let all of you know. Now, a couple of other comments around accommodations. The Rotary room block, if anybody's in the Rotary room block, you know, that's a great tool because the Rotary room block includes free Wi-Fi and breakfast with your hotel room. And of course, you'll have transportation from that facility to the to the convention campus. But the Rotary room block is, you know, pretty full. So if you're thinking about staying there, you might want to book that room pretty quick. In the last couple of weeks, Rotary has rolled out what I'm calling the non-Rotary room block. So you'll see on the right-hand side of this slide a screenshot of the web page. So if you go to Rotary International's webpage and you go to, I think it's registration, there is a link in there for hotels and accommodation. If you go to the bottom of that screen, you'll find this. You can search all the other hotels in Calgary that have space available during convention week that aren't part of the Rotary room block. We've gotten feedback from this group. We've gotten feedback from others that hotel rooms were hard to find. So we've expanded the reach of the hotels so that people can go in and find accommodation. And of course, beyond the non-Rotary room block, you have Airbnb, VRBO, and other options. So there's still a lot of choice for Rotarians to make in terms of finding a place to stay. We're also looking at expanding the non-Rotary room block outside of the city to places like Airdrie, Cochrane, Okotoks, High River, Canmore, Banff. So for those of you that attended the convention in '96, the folklore that I've been told is we had people here in Red Deer staying in Red Deer for the convention, and they were busing back and forth. And so we're looking at, given the numbers that we're seeing from registration, we want to make sure there's rooms available. So we're going to the other communities around the city. And of course, there is also the option for clubs and members in Calgary to billet Rotarians from around the world. Linda, do you have some additional information on the billeting process?
Yeah, Felipe, who runs the Friendship Exchange, has agreed to help anyone who has rooms and wants to open up to billet Rotarians coming in. And if we hear of any Rotarians who are coming in that would like to be billeted, for example, we've had a few like single women who didn't want to stay at a hotel by themselves, put their name forward. So Felipe is very happy to take names. He's got a spreadsheet going and match them. He's not going to try and vet or anything, but he's just going to give people options and say, here's a few people who are looking to be roomed, and here are some people who have some rooms. So Felipe Guerrera down in Lethbridge is doing that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Linda. All right, we'll keep going and we'll have an open forum. So we'll give you an opportunity to ask any questions when we get there. I am going to call upon Mr. Eisted, who has done a great job putting together a volunteer update for you. So Rick, I'll click the slides and you have the floor.
Good, thanks, Darcy. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for spending an hour with us for a bit of an update on what's happening for Calgary 2025. When I started this journey a little over a year ago in terms of volunteer recruitment, we were advised, I guess, by RI, by previous convention champions, that we would be looking at 1,000 plus volunteer shifts. So at the beginning, we sort of said, well, how are we going to approach this? So we essentially divided it in half. We took that 1,000 volunteer shifts and broke it into Rotarian volunteers, which I'm responsible for, and then supporting volunteers. And I'll show some examples of that. So we kind of split it 50-50. That was then, and we worked on the basis of assuming that we could, for those that would volunteer, 1 4-hour volunteer shift per person. As things have unfolded, we've realized that, in fact, it is 1,000 plus, and currently we're looking at 1,595 volunteer shifts that we would require to service all of the opportunities. And at the end, I'll show you, just update everybody on where we are at the list. Next slide. So I'm responsible for the Rotarian volunteers. I've identified of the what we have in the database, I've identified obviously District 5360 as the #1 priority. We want all of our clubs engaged, just like we had a goal of 100% of our clubs registered for the convention. We would like to see all of our clubs involved in at least having one member volunteer while they're here. Zone 28 and 32. So zone 28 is basically all of Canada. Zone 32 is the northeastern US. And so I just arbitrarily set those numbers, 75% of our numbers. So 75% of 500 would be 375 would be my target or my goal with that number in mind. Brian Carnahan, Calgary East, who's responsible for the external organizations, he's contacted and set up connections with Calgary Stampede, Sonovus, Toastmasters, Bethany Care. I think he has 6 to 8 external organizations that have significant volunteer members. And so we're looking at that. But then let's not forget about our Rotary family, our partners, our family members, our friends, neighbors, work colleagues, etc. So we have what we think is a great way of recruiting volunteers by splitting it this way. Next slide. So just first of all, at a high level, we have 47 Rotaract clubs in the district, and we have 38 clubs who have already signed up at least one member to volunteer next year. So that's 81%, which is good, but it also tells us that we have 9 clubs that have not yet stepped up, and I think we just need to find ways of encouraging them to do so. And then when we look at currently, and this is as of the 17th of January, we have 299. We're actually over 300 now of our District 5360 Rotaract Club volunteer signups. We have 35 members from Zone 28, again, across Canada, but the majority of them are actually coming out of British Columbia right now and Northern Alberta, District 350, 370. And we have a few from Ontario, but I think I've got commitments from the champions, zone champions, that we'll get more. Zone 32, again, the Northeast, we've got 17. And if we then add up all of the Rotary and Rotaract Club volunteer signups, we have 138 from now over 30 countries across the world. My priority is really still to focus on the district and our Zone 28, 32, because I think they're the most likelihood to commit and actually volunteer when it comes to the convention in June. So if you look at the total 800, well, even if we started with 1,000, we're still short. So we got lots more work to do. But now we're looking at roughly 1,600 volunteers. What that could mean is that we try to get people to volunteer more than one shift, which would mean that we're pretty close. If everybody volunteered 2 shifts, then we would be pretty close to reaching our goal. But we still can't let up. Next slide, please. So what I want to share with you is a breakdown, because we've been asked about this. How are we doing? We cannot provide names just due to privacy reasons, but we can supply you with the numbers for each of your clubs. So just a quick explanation of the format. I've basically divided it by groups of 10. So you can see the first is clubs with more than 40. We have 1 club, and that's Calgary at Stampede Park, with 42 members signed up. Tremendous. Clubs with 30 volunteers, Calgary Heritage Park, Calgary Downtown. Clubs with more than 20 volunteers, we have 2 of them, Calgary West and Rotaract University of Calgary. Really good to see those numbers there. Obviously, these clubs are close at hand and are based in Calgary, which is we'd expect. Next slide. Clubs with more than 10 volunteer, again, all Calgary-based clubs, Calgary North, Centennial, Fish Creek, and Chinook. So they're all looking good, but again, is there opportunities for growth? I believe there is. Next slide. Clubs with greater than 5 volunteer signups. Again, there's 7 of them there, and you can see them there. I'm not going to go through them, but I think again there's opportunities to grow that in those areas. Obviously, the further we get out from Calgary, the numbers are going to go down, and of course, related to the size of the club. Next slide. Again, these are the clubs that have at least 1 volunteer, and you can see there's a whole slew of them with just 1. And but there are others like Brooks, Olds, Raymond, Okotoks that have 4. And again, I think in all these cases, there is opportunity to grow the number of volunteers. We just have to, 1, make them aware of it, and 2, really encourage them to help us out, bring the magic to Rotary in Calgary. Next slide. Just very quick, I'm not going to cover Brian's area tonight because I don't have the up-to-date numbers, but I just wanted to share with you the other Rotaract signups. As I mentioned, Zone 28, we have 35, 17 from Zone 32. 13 other Rotaract clubs have signed up to volunteer from 8 different countries. Africa, South America, East Asia, and Europe. And other Rotary clubs, we're now over 133 Rotary clubs. How confident I feel in terms of those becoming reality? Obviously not as confident as I would be in the District 5360 clubs. Next slide. So next steps, I encourage the club champions to continue to promote volunteer opportunities with their members. If you haven't already set a goal, I would encourage you to do so for your club. Clubs who currently have no volunteer signups, and there's 9 of them, I think there's an opportunity there. I don't know if any of you are on the call tonight, but I think there's opportunities with all of our clubs to grow. Clubs which have the potential for more volunteer signups based on their goal, obviously continue. And I think here for the Calgary area Rotarians who have already signed up to volunteer, we ask you to reach out to your family, your friends, neighbors, work colleagues, people that you have a volunteering spirit, and let's get them to sign up as well. Next slide. I will continue to work with our Zone 28 and 32 conventions champions to grow those numbers somewhat. I can tell you that the volunteer shift schedules and position descriptions and training are well in development, but always changing, it seems. And we would expect to launch the volunteer shift schedules likely in May. We haven't set a firm date yet, but that's currently what we're looking at. And we would certainly, because we want the highest proportion of our volunteers to come from our district, we'll probably phase the launch of the volunteer commitments, likely to start with District 5360 and give them about a week in advance. Next slide. These are the opportunities that I'm currently aware of. So C-Train Platforms International Airport as a greeter, pathway to the convention campus, convention grounds, hotels, signature events, uniform distribution. So there's lots of opportunities. As I mentioned, most of them, I believe, are 4-hour shifts. And, everybody will be provided necessary training. And of course, you'll be all provided with a uniform. Last slide, I think, or second last slide. Just a reminder that if you are working or intend to work in the registration or the general sessions, which are being held at the Saddle Dome, or breakout sessions in the new BMO Center or the House of Friendship, you are required to be a paid registration volunteer for security purposes. And I think that's it, Darcy. Thank you.
Yes, that is. Thanks, Rick. Great report, great presentation. Thank you. Maybe we'll take a moment here to see if anybody has any specific volunteer questions.
Can I ask a question? Sorry, go ahead.
So Rick, hi, it's Damien at High River. Rick, I mean, it's not maybe that if there was more fidelity on the actual volunteer shifts, what kind of jobs and when and so forth, if they were able to, our guys were able to see those, it might spur on more people to sign up because they know what they're getting themselves into. Right now, it seems like it's kind of a blind, I'll volunteer, but I'm not sure what I'm going to be doing.
Good question, Damien. I think the intent is to, I mean, I think we obviously need to make the opportunities, not by schedule or shift, because these could change, but to identify what type of jobs we have available, and probably need to make them more transparent than we have been.
Rick, it's
Yes.
Gwen. Can we share what you've done, this slide that you have right in front of us now and the one before? Wouldn't that give volunteers a general idea of what we have going on for volunteers? Can we
Yeah,
share
you're
that with our clubs at this point
You're
in
free
time?
to share that. Yeah, none of this is confidential information.
Okay, no, because it sounds like the first slide you show is pretty comprehensive, pretty self-descriptive, I think, in terms
Which
of
one are you
air-
talking about? This one
the
here?
airport and the hotel and that
Oh,
sort
yeah.
of thing. Those
Yep.
are ones that you can get the wife or the kids to do for us.
And the slides on next steps, Gwen, I would say those are ones that I would ask our club champions to take back to their clubs.
So
Yeah,
are
so-
you gonna,
Sorry, Kim, I'll come to you in one sec. Just for clarity, everyone. These slide decks in their entirety are for you to use at your clubs. We try to design them so that you can actually take them to a club meeting. Kim?
I was gonna ask, are you providing these as well? Because I know you're saving the other ones, but just wanted to make sure these ones were gonna be available.
Does everyone
Yep.
know where to get them?
Nope.
Okay, you know what, Linda? We're gonna show them where to get them tonight.
Okay.
Rick,
Okay.
Rick, I have a question, Peter Harding.
Yes, Peter.
Is this information, I have a number of people that I've convinced into signing up, my wife and a bunch of other friends, because we're all retired and we're looking for something to do. But are they being communicated with? They received an email saying, yes, you're registered as a volunteer. Thank you very much. But are we communicating with them the fact that more information is going to be coming out, say in May, when they can pick the areas that they want to volunteer in? Because I've had a few people saying, hey, I haven't heard anything, you still need me? And that scares me.
Good question, Peter. The committee is talking about doing that by February the 1st to get back to people, just so that they're not left in 30,000 feet level.
That's good. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That was my question as well.
Okay, great. Any other questions of Rick?
Rick, I did send you a private message when you showed the number of members that have volunteered in each club. Is it possible for you to put the membership number in brackets so at least people can, like, obviously Stampede has 120 some odd members, right? So we would hope that their volunteer numbers would be higher than the club that has 10. So is it possible to put the amount of membership in, like, say, in brackets?
Can you not do that yourself?
Well, then I'd have to go and look for all the, I don't know, I'd have to, where do I find that? Under district?
Well, it's on the district website, but I'm just wondering what's the rationale in doing so? Because for me, the important thing is I've had several clubs reach out, can you tell me who's registered in my club? And I said, well, for privacy reasons, I cannot.
No, I understand that, but I just think it might encourage some clubs to, if they see that, like say in my club, if they see that we're a membership of 48 and we only have 10 people, and I report back to my club that there's only 10 of us that have volunteered out of a membership of 48, and another club has a membership of 30 and they've got like 20, then maybe it might encourage them to pull their socks up.
Hmm.
I mean, I
we could
guess
look-
it's just
we could
another
look
job
into
for
it.
you to have to worry about, but
Maybe we'll let you guys take this one
We'll-
offline. You
yeah,
can
we'll
you
take
can
it
offline.
negotiate what you
Yeah.
want to do there.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks again, Rick. Really appreciate the updates that you're sending through for us to share with everyone.
You're welcome.
Host hospitality. So, Pat, Did you get a chance to answer all the questions or share everything you wanted to share, or would you like a few
Well,
minutes?
Not quite, but I'll just mention right now that we have about 13, close to 1,400 registered to be at Host Hospitality, which is excellent. That's about 10% of the ones that are registered and paid. We have several more seats available, thanks to the many, many clubs that have gotten involved with this. And I am confident that we will have a seat for every single person who wants to come to Host Hospitality. So we're going to make that happen. And I also just wanted to mention that if there's someone in your club that says, geez, you know, I kind of like to do something with Host Hospitality. Maybe I'd like to host with someone else, or can I help with another club or something? By all means, let me know, because I do know of groups that are asking for someone else to help. I know where there are home dinners where people say, gee, I don't know how I'm going to get people over to my house. I've got about 4 or 5 people right now that have sent me a note to say they would be really happy to be the transportation drivers for these guests from out of town to take them down to someone's house. So by all means, I welcome any transportation drivers for Host Hospitality. And please just encourage your members to do home dinners. We've got lots and lots of large events, and that's great, and I appreciate that. But let's have more home dinners. We have about 50 hosts all together. I believe there's 33 home dinners going on. There's 17 very large events. Thank you so much to everybody.
Thanks, Pat, for the report and answering questions. Damien looks like he has a question for you.
Hey, Pat, thanks for that. Pat, you were mentioning earlier on about the whole idea of folks, even if we're there are guests, they still got to pay for Host Hospitality.
Yes.
So, I mean, if we choose to invite, say, I've got a friend of mine staying at my house, and they bring him to our Host Hospitality event, then I have to charge him $50, or I can't count him towards Host Hospitality events. Is that correct?
Well, that's correct. What we've always said is if you're a registered delegate, then you can go to Host Hospitality. So it would be like someone is coming to your event, a husband, for example, who's a Rotarian, and he said, well, my wife's not registered, can I bring her too? That's not quite fair, because in order to take part in any of the events, you have to be a registered delegate. So in order to be at a Host Hospitality, you have to pay for the Host Hospitality fee.
Okay, and the second question, sorry, tied on to that. I gave a briefing to my executive on Tuesday about some of this stuff, and they're very keen to Host Hospitality. But one of the questions that came up was, it's $50 US, and what happens to all the excess money if we don't consume it on transportation?
Well, I'm going to tell you that with the amount of buses that we're going to need, I don't think we're going to have very much left over. We have, for example, your club's going to do 50. You mentioned you do 50 guests at your Host Hospitality. By the time that we take those 50 guests, we take their whatever it is in Canadian dollars that we have to pay in Canadian dollars for the buses, obviously. I don't think there's going to be much left, because the buses normally charge, from what I can tell now, buses like to go on a 5-hour schedule. In other words, 5 hours from start to finish. We're going to have some that are a little bit longer, because we've got clubs that are out, say Canmore. We've got some Drumheller people that are going to be needing buses. Their timing is going to be a bit longer, so we're going to have to pay extra for those. So I don't think we're going to have any money left over. We set this up so that it wouldn't be costly. It wouldn't be super costly, but at least it would pay for our buses. If there's money left over, I will have to defer that to the co-chairs in the HOC. That would be part, I guess I could put it, be part of the legacy.
Well, just to clarify something,
Yeah.
because we did look at buses to bring people down to our rodeo event, and the bus companies quoted us $1,200 Canadian for here and back that in the one evening. So if we're looking at 50 people coming down paying $50 US, that's over $3,000 Canadian. So that's in excess of $1,800 Canadian that's not being spent on that bus.
what I'm being told is for the 5-hour stint is $2,500 plus. Now, remember that we've got buses coming from all over the country to come and help with the convention. We've got buses that RI using to get people shuttled from hotels down to Stampede Park. Those run on a regular basis. So buses are going to be a little bit of a commodity at that point. I can't tell you the exact pricing of the buses at this point because RI has not given me that information, and we have not negotiated those buses at this point. But normally around $50 covers the bus per person.
So Darcy, we don't know where all the excess money for the trips and so forth. We're not getting any money from that, and we don't know where the money's going to if there's excess money left over.
No.
Sorry, if there's excess money left over from anything that the HO.
Yeah, I think the HOC organizes.
Yeah, so is Craig still on?
Yes, I am.
Craig,
So-
do you want to take a stab at this?
I don't know. They're bringing in buses from out of province, for one thing. So they're, like Pat said, it is supply and demand. If there is money left over, that will stay in as part of the HOC legacy.
Just as a matter of interest, the stuff that's going on organized for the trips and the tours, pre-tours, and so forth. Is this district getting any money from that?
Pardon me?
The stuff, the trips and the pre-tours, the post-tours, that stuff is the Anderson Tour Group's organizing. Are we getting any funds from that, or is it all going just to the tour company?
I'm waiting for Craig to tackle that one.
We may have lost them.
Oh,
Maybe.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there you are.
Sorry. Yeah, no, we are the HOC for our legacy is getting a commission from Anderson on the pre and post tours, because we are actually, they're going to be the premier marketers from our website and such. Can you still hear me?
Yep, we heard all that.
Okay. Did
Okay,
that answer your
thanks.
question?
I think you cut out there a bit, Craig.
Okay, yeah. So I don't have great internet here, which is why I have the camera off. Yeah, we are getting a commission on pre and post tours from Anderson, and that will go towards the HOC legacy.
Did that come through for you, Damien?
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right, Pat, thanks a bunch. We're going to go on to signature events. Not a lot to update you on with signature events today, other than go back to the website, check out all the great videos. Videos are going to be updated in due course. So our Mark, our signature events chair, has been working hard getting all the contracts in place. And now that work is done, they're in the process of updating videos and getting the shows put together. Couple of things, though, that we can share with you today. First of all, Pancake for Polio Breakfast is going to be happening as part of the convention. The reason I can't give you a date because we're still working on the date right now, but we are doing a Pancake for Polio Breakfast. It'll be a free breakfast, but attendees will have many opportunities to make a donation towards polio. So more details on that to come in the coming weeks. Second thing, white hat ceremony will be at the grandstand show. So if you don't already have your white hat, please go to the HOC website and buy a white hat, and encourage all the members of your club that have registered for the convention to make sure they have a white hat. So white hat ceremonies are a ceremony unique to Calgary, and we're going to be doing it at the grandstand show, hopefully with 25,000 people in the stands. And of course, all of the signature events are for sale. Tickets are for sale right now on the HOC website. So we really encourage people to pick up their tickets, get them soon, and get everything in place for yourselves. So that's all I have on signature events today. I'm going to keep going, but if you have questions on that, we can come back. The other thing we wanted to, I think Christina shared this with us at the last meeting, but there is a post-convention district party. And so all 5360 delegates and volunteers at the convention are going to be invited to a District 5360 wrap-up party, which will be at a location yet to be determined, but within walking distance of the convention campus. We'll be having hors d'oeuvres, champagne, a cash bar, and it's really just an opportunity for us to kind of let our hair down, celebrate the fact that we've just pulled off this amazing convention, and spend some time getting to know each other a little bit better. This is designed to replace the district convention. And so what Christina decided in her year as DG is, instead of having a district convention, she wanted to encourage as many Rotarians from 5360 to attend the RI convention. And this is her way of thanking all of us for being there. So please register. Tell all of your members that have registered that there's a party for them at the end of the convention, immediately after the closing ceremonies.
Darcy, can I just add something here?
Sure.
You talked about the experiential, about the pancake breakfast and that sort of thing. Back to Damien's point, the HOC, we are paying for that. And it's an experiential event, like the pancakes, where we hope to feed, 10, 15,000 people a stampede breakfast. And that's going to cost us in excess of $75,000, the HOC. So when you talk about, oh, there's, we're making more money on a bus or what have you. And I agree with Pat. I don't think that the bus is going to be a profit center for us. I mean, we may end up with a little bit, but we're not gonna be knocking it out of the ballpark. A lot of what we're looking to do is add experiential options to people, like this post-convention party. Is the HOC is paying for that as well on behalf of Christina, and just as a say thank you. So there are a lot of things that we are reinvesting back into the convention to make the experience better for everybody. Because like if we talk, what I said right in the opening statement was, we need to knock this thing out of the ballpark. We need to make sure that everybody that comes has an amazing time, an amazing experience. We want to be people throughout the Rotary world talking about this for the next 30 years. So it costs money. And that's, sometimes we make a little bit of money on one event to subsidize another or vice versa. And then whatever's left over at the end, that becomes part of our legacy.
Okay, thanks, Craig. All right, so this is the open mic portion of it. We've kind of done a little bit of open mic along the way. We're at 8 o'clock, so just want to do a time check for those that have to step away. And if you do, thanks for being here tonight. I'm going to open the floor to any and all questions that people might have, or any discussion you want to have. So let's go. Anybody got anything? Damien.
Yeah, sorry. At the start of the meeting, Darcy, somebody mentioned about social media channels. And I think right now, for example, on the youth pre-convention, they've opened a Facebook site for us to talk about things that are happening as far as youth convention goes. But one of the things I was interested in was if you're going to start hosting, like putting people out in places like High River, for example, I mean, if there's a way for us to figure that out, who's out here, then there may be a chance for us to optimize transportation and so forth back into the city from our members going back and forth. And at the same time, perhaps rally those folks to come and do our hospitality with us because they're already here in High River. So I'm wondering what kind of social media channels you're talking about doing there.
So the social media that we have planned right now would be a Facebook page for the HOC, a LinkedIn page, and an Instagram page. And they would be primarily designed to push information out to people. So we probably wouldn't use them to facilitate that type of work, although, in fairness, we haven't spent a lot of time thinking about that. Our thoughts at this point in time is, because we don't get registration lists from Rotary International, we don't know who the 15,000 registrants are, but we want to communicate with them somehow. And so our current thinking at this stage is we're gonna get the social media channels up and running. We're gonna get the links onto the webpage, and we're gonna encourage registrants to get registered on our social media channels so that we can start providing them with some of the updates that we're sharing here today, for example, so that people can be planning and preparing for their visit to Calgary, as opposed to arriving, being unprepared, or trying to get it all together in the last week or so. So that's a strategy that we're talking about specific to that audience. How we use social media as well will be to try to encourage more people to register for the convention. And some of the messaging that we'd likely push out through that is, you know, come to Calgary, experience Calgary, check out this place, things along that line. So probably more push than interaction, but you know, that doesn't mean we wouldn't look at it. Okay, thanks. Rick.
Yes, I think it's a question for Pat. I think I heard her say on the supply side, we have about 1,400 places for, let's call it, Rotarian guests. What's the demand side looking like now? Because I assume that that's open.
No, I said there's 1,400 guests registered. So in other words, we've got 1,400 people that want to go to dinner. We have about 1,700 seats right now, but I'm working on 10% of registration are going to want to go to host hospitality. So that's why I want to stay ahead of the game to make sure that we have enough seats for everybody. So we're a little ahead of the game right now with the seats available, but I'm feeling that every week we get more added on as guests. So they're just chalking on about 20 every week or so. Come on, another 20 come on. So it's building.
So these have registered and paid?
Yes, these
Awesome.
are delegates who have registered for host hospitality and paid to be a guest, and have given me all the information I need. Where they're staying, do they not like this food, you know, whatever, and so on. All the questions asked. Yeah. So we know we've got 1,400 coming to dinner for sure.
And on the supply side, then, do we have 1,400 spaces?
Yes, I do. I have over 1,700 seats available right now.
Awesome, thanks.
So we're ahead of the game. So I encourage everybody to put your name down. Come out for host hospitality. Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Rick. Thanks, Pat.
Thank you.
Sorry,
Question.
the lady
Oh.
from Chinook.
Darcy, can you explain, sorry, about the hats again? What type of hats are the volunteers getting? Are they different than the white hats?
No, the volunteers are getting white hats as well, but they're going to get a blue band that
Okay.
goes around the hat.
Okay, so so you said to go online and buy a white hat. So if you're volunteering, will the volunteer white hat be the proper hat?
I believe that's true. I'm going to
Yes.
ask Craig to confirm that, though.
Okay.
Yeah,
No,
I think
the white hats for the volunteers are actually being provided as well by the HOC.
Yes, so but
And
when
they're
you
the
say
same
go buy a
hats.
white hat, if you're volunteering, you don't need
Yeah,
to
so
buy a white hat.
yeah, no, so Fareed is going and he's getting all of the information. So they
Okay.
are going to be the exact same white hat. However, we're going to like Darcy said, the volunteer hats are going to be the blue band as well as a sticker on them, just to differentiate. Because once you get into a sea of 5,000 white hats, it gets easy to get lost.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Mary Turner.
Hi, Darcy. Good to see you tonight.
to see
Just
you.
a quick question regarding the RV sites. Are they established and ready to go for people to register those sites, or like how do we tell people how to register their RV for one of these sites?
Linda, I'm going to ask you if you have an answer to that.
Sure. Mary, they don't have the website up yet to register.
Okay.
But if you know people are coming and they want to register, tell them to send to info@rotarycalgary2025.org, and I'll make sure RI has their names. So they will be at the top of the list. And as soon as RI is ready to go, they'll make sure they contact all the people who have said they want a site.
Awesome, thank you.
It's limited sites though. I think there's only about 50, right, Craig?
Yeah, so the RV Fellowship has booked a site outside of Calgary for their group, and I think that's full. Now, what we are working on is there will be some sites that are available on Stampede Park. And that will be, you know, like, yeah, I think there's around 50 of them that are available. If we get those get sold out, we're going to be looking at getting some supplemental ones, either at McMahon Stadium or another location.
Great, thank you.
Great, thanks, Mary. Rick?
Yes, was that Wagon Masters, that outside campground? You know, Craig?
Yeah, that's the RV Fellowship, but yeah, they are the Wagon Masters, and they make there's a bunch of them coming from all over North America.
So I had the question from a BC registrant who wanted to know, will there be shuttle service provided from that campground to the campus?
That I don't know. I don't believe so. But I can't answer that.
I've reached out to the contact that was given to me by Marlene Doherty, and I've not heard back from him, but he may be off traveling somewhere. But if somebody could find out that answer, I could then close the loop, please.
I'll find out, Rick.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks.
Thanks, Rick. Damien?
My last question, I promise. It's just because I'm trying to anticipate what I'm going to be asked tomorrow at our convention committee meeting. But earlier in the program, you mentioned about $1 million legacy project or legacy fund. Is that going to be for all of District 5360 or just for Calgary?
This is a district convention. So our goal is to, you know, whether we hit that number or not is going to be dependent on a lot of things, how sponsorship comes, ticket sales for the events and that sort of thing. And to be fair, I think that the $1 million at this point is optimistic. However, this is right from day one, I made a point of saying this is not a Calgary convention, it's where it happens to be held, because we have the infrastructure, but it is a District 5360, and we want all of the clubs from all of the district and all of the Rotarians from throughout the district to benefit from this. So anything that happens will be spread out throughout the district.
Thank you.
All right. Damien, any more?
I'm gonna throw one in.
Almost not
Darcy.
been my last question.
All right. Linda?
I'm just gonna throw in the elephant in the room. There are only 10 clubs represented, 10 champions of
I know.
47. Is this not
Mhm.
useful? It's obviously useful for you 10, but why are the rest not attending? Is it not useful?
It's
What's
very
the trick?
useful. You know what? Tomorrow night I've got a convention committee, and our club is convention committee. It's meeting tomorrow night, and all these points that we're talking about today, that you know you presented to us, and these questions we're asking, that's going to be given on to our members tomorrow to push out. And our membership, we've got a membership guide just for the convention. We've got a media guide just for the convention. So this kind of information is great for them to take forward and move on with it. I think as we get closer to the date, the pressure's building on our membership. There's been some pushback on the whole price rising thing. Didn't go down too well, but I think overall this is very helpful information.
Mary?
Well, I just think I always worry about the people who aren't in the room and why are they not in the room? And I think when I look around the screen, there's about 3 of us who aren't from Calgary. Where's everybody else? And I think we need to shake the bushes, and I think we need to go out and almost demand representation from each club on these calls. They need to be here. They're gonna just not even think about the convention. It's not gonna be in front of them. They need to be here.
But do you know, I was traveling on 1 or 2 of the monthly calls but I always came on and listened to it all and took notes and sent my update to my club. So I hope the ones that aren't attending are doing the same thing.
You know, Bev, there's so few people on the call tonight.
Mhm.
We need to have representation from every club.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know,
agree.
maybe the AGs need to put that front and center of all of their clubs and make sure that the AGs get in touch with all their club presidents and make sure somebody's on these calls.
yeah, no, I agree.
You know, Linda, I think I know what the problem is.
What's that?
We're gonna let Miriam present next time, and I bet the attendance triples.
No, I think maybe Craig, in your meeting next week, this is something you might want to really hammer home with those club champions who didn't arrive tonight. I
Yeah,
did get
and
one regret.
the frustrating thing is that we'll be talking to clubs or members, and they're saying, "Well, you don't keep us informed."
I wonder if it's worth it for somebody on the HOC to send a message out to the presidents. And then maybe the presidents can speak to their HOC champion to ask why.
And just building on that suggestion, that might be a great email to come from Christina. Just because Christina, the club champions were her concept. And she worked hard to recruit the club champions or get the presidents to. So it might be effective for the co-chairs and Christina maybe to send a message together or something.
Craig, do you want me to action that with Christina? Or do you want to?
Do you think it's
You might-
worthwhile for the next one to invite actually the club presidents as well? 'Cause
That's an
guys
excellent
don't show up-
idea, Damien. Excellent. Yep.
Okay. Good suggestion.
Okay, but
All
for
right.
those that are here, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. And Mark and I are going to be doing a Q&A next week. And so hopefully we have a good turnout there. But anyways, thank you guys for your time. I'm going to bolt off here, but I appreciate it.
Thanks, Craig.
Great
Thank you.
talking to everybody. I love these meetings.
Hi, I
All
just,
right,
I don't,
go ahead, Gwen.
I'm sorry, maybe I missed it. I know that there was the change of pricing in December, and we were hoping for a bump in registrations in December. Have we got the numbers from that bump that we hoped for?
Yeah, we're like 20 under 15,000 people registered and paid for the convention.
Okay, that bump was from 10,000. We were at 10,000 in November. Is that correct? I forget.
Probably like that 11, 12,000 range somewhere. Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. You're welcome. So that great cue for me to put up where we're at in terms of price now. So the price for registration is at $625 until March 31st. Then it goes to $695 after that. And so encourage your members that have registered but maybe not paid, get in. Encourage your members that haven't registered at all to get in before March 31st and be part of the magic. So the last thing
Sorry, Darcy,
Linda?
just a lot of the clubs are asking how many from our club have registered. You can get that information from your AGs.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you. So you're going to get this slide deck. So here's some links for you. Register for the convention at convention.rotary.org. Register to volunteer at the HOC website. Register for host hospitality at the HOC website. And buy tickets for your signature events at the signature events page on the HOC website. Now I'm going to embarrass myself. I built the slide, but I didn't populate it with the up-to-date information. Next week on January 29th is going to be a learning Q&A with Mark and Craig. It's going to be from some time to some time, and it's going to be at some link. And all of that information, I believe, has been emailed out or is being emailed out by Linda.
I haven't emailed it out, but you can go to District 5360 website, go to events, and it's right there. Look for January 29th, click on the link and register. So it's
All
right
right.
on the Club Runner events.
We did get an email. Somebody did send an email out about all this stuff.
Our
Darcy?
president sent it to everybody in our club.
Okay, this is, who is this for? Like, this isn't for the club champions, right?
For
For
everybody.
everybody.
It's for everybody.
Everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Darcy,
Yeah, Rick?
it's at 7 p.m.
Okay.
and it's the email went out, requires people to register. So
Okay.
you might want to consider sending out another reminder, maybe early in the week, or certainly you can set it up on Zoom that when you require registration, you can set it up so that 1 day or 2 days in advance of the actual event, they get a reminder email. Because I've experienced where people just forget about it.
Okay. And so to register, you go to the district club runner site or district website?
Yep.
Yes.
And I've just put in the chat the link if you want to add it to your
Okay.
page.
Look at us doing stuff on the fly. I'll get the link put in before I bundle this up for you, Linda.
Not
to
send
out.
it to the presidents again, because ours came directly from our president, but then of course our president is director of communication. What's his title, Rick? What's Rob's title at district? So it's
Learning and development.
yeah, so I mean he's way ahead of a lot of this stuff. So he sent that to us on the 15th of January, and the registration site's right on it.
Yeah, he sent that to all members in the district, so they should. have-
Okay, then, oh, there you go then. Okay, so that went out, Darcy, on January 16th. I'm just looking at it.
Okay, perfect. All right. Okay, folks, with
Darcy?
that, yes,
Darcy,
Damien.
sorry, I got one last thing. It's not really a question.
How
I
many
keep getting
many
emails.
last questions can you have?
Is it the truth?
This inspired me, this whole Q&A thing.
Okay.
I keep getting emails from a guy called Julio Munoz about these breakout sessions. Do you guys get these?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, see, Linda gets them. I don't know who this guy is. He's asking us to help plan the breakout sessions. I have no idea what the breakout sessions are, but he's asking for surveys done and so forth. Do you not get these emails from Julio Munoz? From
I
RI?
believe he's a staffer out of Evanston responsible for breakout planning and organization, Damien, but I don't know for sure. But it sounds, I got the same email.
Yeah, he sent it to
Right.
anyone who's registered.